Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with another gadget that I think you're going to really love. It's the Omni 20 Plus from our friends over at Omnicharge, and it's a portable power station that has every possible connection you'll ever need to charge all of your portable devices. Now, I review a lot of high-tech gear on the channel, and it's rare for me to get this excited over a new piece of equipment, but I love this product because the folks over at Omnicharge have done a brilliant job of balancing weight and size with functionality, which means you've got a very portable device that does some pretty amazing things. Now, I review a lot of portable power stations on the channel, and I think they're great devices if you're going to spend a full day out in the field, or maybe you're going on a camping trip over the weekend, and those portable power stations tend to be big, and they've got a lot of energy in them to charge all of your devices. The other side of the coin is you may bring a power bank with you, which is typically 10,000 or 20,000 milliampere hours, and those are great for charging tablets and controllers and maybe your phone and some other portable devices, but there's some limitations on what they can do. This product sits right in the middle of those two types of products, where it's got some attributes that are portable power station related, and it's got a lot of the power bank related attributes as well. And I just think it's a phenomenal product. Now, I've been testing it for the last couple of weeks, and I got to tell you, it goes with me everywhere. It's just the perfect device to charge anything I'm going to take out in the field. Now, I'd like to start this overview with an unboxing of the product just to show you all the components that are included with the kit, so you understand exactly what you get if you decide to buy the product. And then I'll spend a few minutes and take a closer look at the product itself to show you all the connections you can make and explain the specifications for those ports, because there isn't anything I'm bringing out in the field outside of an arc welder that I can't run with this particular product, because it handles DC well, it handles AC well, it's easy to charge, it's easy to use. Like everything you could want in a portable power station that's small like this is built into this product. So let's get started with the unboxing. So inside the box, you'll find the Omni 20 Plus. You'll also find two nice cables. Now these are short cables. They're about I guess a little over a foot long, and you've got two of them here. You've got a USB-A on one end with a USB-C on the other end, and that'll work with either of these ports on the front. They also include a USB-C to USB-C. Now USB-C is the latest standard that'll handle PD charging and QC charging, and it's on most of your modern tablets and phones and other equipment, but it's nice to include the older cable with it as well. You'll also find a card in there that if you buy the product and review it, and you send a review to the company or you post one on their site, they'll enter you into a contest to send you some accessories. So that's pretty nice of the company. You'll also find a full instruction manual that details everything you need to know about how to use the product, how to charge it, how to use it to charge your products, some safety features that are built into it. There's a menu on the front. I'm going to go through this little by little, but I'm going to explain the menu where you can actually control a lot of the functions of the product. Now, how many times do you see that on a power bank? Never. And how often do you see that on a portable power station? It's pretty rare. So in this one, you have a lot of control over how the energy that's stored in there gets distributed to those ports. And I'll go through that in a little bit as well. But anyway, that's it for the unboxing. Now, some of the specifications. It's a 20,000 milliampere hour power bank. And I called it a power bank, and I've called it a portable power station because it's sort of both. But anyway, it's 20,000 milliampere hours, which may not seem like that much, but I always like to think about what am I going to charge when I'm out in the field for an afternoon? And if I bring too big a brick with me, 30,000, 40,000, or even a portable power station, I'm carrying a big heavy brick out there in the field with me. And if I take it out in the field and I only use 20% of the energy that was stored in it and bring it home, I've wasted a lot of my energy carrying that thing out into the field. So 20,000 milliampere hours is sort of that perfect spot, that Goldilocks zone of having enough energy to charge everything I need to charge out in the field and not bringing it home with a lot of energy still stored inside of it. So 20,000 milliampere hours. Now, as far as the unit goes, again, I mentioned all the port connections on it. It's a brilliant box. So DC-wise, when you're charging things that are DC related, you've got two full-size USB-A ports on the front, but they're not standard USB-A ports. They're USB-A QC 3.0, which is the latest standard for quick charging. So if you've got devices that can use the QC standard, especially QC 3.0, you can plug those into the front two ports and you can quick charge all those devices. You'll also find on the side of it here a USB-C port. That USB-C port is a PD port, which is power delivery. Again, the latest standard for power delivery, and that will charge devices very, very quickly. So if you've got some devices that use the PD charging standard, you can plug a USB-C cable into there, plug it into your device, and it'll immediately rapidly charge. It'll also handle 60 watts of PD out of that port. Now you're thinking, why is that important? Well, smaller things like tablets and phones, you can charge with pretty much any delivery of PD. But if you're trying to charge a laptop, you need at least 60 watts. So plugging into this, I can charge my laptop in the field. That's pretty amazing. There's also a barrel port right there. Now that's a 5521. That's a standard that's out there. You can charge it through that. You can charge it through this, but you can also use that to charge other devices externally. And here's the cool part. If you use that barrel connection, that 5521, you get 100 watts of charging current out of, or 100 watts of charging power out of that barrel connection. So you have so much control of what you're charging externally, you get a lot of juice out of the box. If you flip it over to this side, and here's where it becomes a portable power station as opposed to a power bank, it's got an AC port on the other side. Now, it's a modified sine wave. It's not a pure sine wave, but I'm totally fine with that because everything I'm charging out in the field that I'm plugging in is typically a charger that would convert the 120 volt 60 hertz to a DC voltage to charge my drone batteries, to use other external devices like a fan or a light or some other thing that I'm going to plug in 120 watts, 120 volts. It's just a brilliant setup because I can use all that stuff at the same time. And if that wasn't enough, I know I sound like an infomercial here, but if that wasn't enough, there's a wireless charger on the top of this that you can use for your phone, your earbuds, your watch, whatever you want to charge that's Qi compatible. When you turn the unit on, this becomes live. You can drop your phone on the top of it when you're flying your drone or you're fishing or whatever you're doing. It's going to recharge your phone. You don't even need cables with you. So everything you need, like I said, is built into the unit. Now this next section, I'm going to actually take a closer look at it because there are menus on the front. When you turn this on, you have control completely over turning on the AC or turning on the DC, but the menus in there allow you to control what kind of voltage comes out of here because in addition to it being a heavy current delivery over here, you can actually control the voltage of what comes out of that barrel port. Now, normally you're going to charge things like a 5 volt unit or a 12 volt unit, but let's just say, for example, you had a custom cable and they sell some custom cables for a laptop. You don't even need the charger at that point. You can plug it in here, plug it in your laptop, adjust the voltage and charge your laptop. So I'll explain how to do that. And you have some control as well over other things like high performance charging off the AC or if the DC. So I'll go through those menus with you. But for me, even if it didn't have those cool menus, pretty much taking this with me, it doesn't weigh that much. Throwing it in my bag, knowing I have a source of energy that I can use just like an AC outlet in my home or a DC outlet here to charge anything I need in the field is just brilliant. So stay tuned and I'll take a closer look and I'll show you all the connections. And then I'll come back at the end and actually load the table up with stuff that I take with me pretty much every day I leave the house and show you how I can charge all of it at the same time. Oh, one last thing I almost forgot. If you're charging this unit, so if you charge it off of a quick charger, you need a pretty heavy charger to charge it, you can charge the unit in under 3 hours to full charge if it's depleted. But more importantly, while you're charging it, these two units are active. So you can actually use the power in the unit as you're charging it through the unit. So it's got a power through functionality to charge other things while you're charging the unit. So you can use the two USB-A connections on the front to charge any peripherals that are hanging off that. So, I mean, again, I was thinking to myself, what else could they have built into the unit that would have been really cool? I can't find anything. The only suggestion I've gotten, it's a bit of a nitpicker, is that I don't know where the charging pad is on the top. And I know that's a small thing, and I'll show you where it is in a second. It's pretty forgiving, so you can move the phone around an awful lot, but it would have been nice just to have a ring up here as sort of an icon to know exactly where the phone lays down. But that's a small thing. But honestly, after testing it for, I think, 6 weeks at this point, that's really the only thing I can come up with. And I'm always trying to be fair and balanced in these reviews. I wish I had some other stuff to pick on, but for me, it's just perfect. So stay tuned and I'll take a closer look and then I'll come back and actually hook a bunch of stuff up to it and show you what it can charge. The unit has a very modern design with flat sides, flat front and back, and tapered corners, which help it slide into a bag or a backpack really easily. It's not going to get snagged on anything. The exterior's got a rubberized feel to it, which makes it easy to grip. It's not going to slip out of your fingers. And when you set it down outside on a rock or other flat surface, it's not going to slide off on you. On the front of the unit, you'll find a few controls in the display. On the left is the power button. You'll hold that for a couple of seconds to turn it on. The digital display gives you a lot of information about which ports are active and the current charge level, as well as the menu selections if you go into the menu. To the right of that is a dual rocker. When you tap the top, it'll turn on the AC port. When you tap the bottom, it'll turn on all the DC ports externally. Then you have two full-size USB-A ports on the front. Both of these are QC 3.0 compatible. They're fast-charging ports. What's interesting about this unit is with most of these power banks, you'll usually get one QC port and one regular charging port, or if there are two QC ports, they can't individually negotiate with different devices. This one can, which is really important because that means you can connect a device up to this one that has a different capacity and current requirement than the other one, so it'll individually negotiate for those two ports and fast charge both of those devices at the same time. On the one side, you'll find two more ports. These are both DC ports, standard USB-C port here, and what's called a universal 5521 port right here. The USB-C port is a PD port, which means it can fast charge PD devices. It's also capable of a 60-watt delivery, which means you can use it with laptops. That's, again, a unique feature of this particular product. Most of these can output 60 watts. The universal port, which is a 5521 connector, can be used to charge the unit, and it can be used to charge devices externally through that port. You control that through the front menu. This is also bidirectional. You can charge the unit through it or charge external devices off that. On the other side, you'll find a full-size AC port for US. It's got a polarized connector here, so you can't put the plug in backwards, and a ground connector. Now, the unit's not grounded, but that's there to sort of orient the connection. On the rear of the unit's only information about the power requirements of the product. And again, it's a very simple unit to use. It gives you a lot of control, and I think they've made it about as thin as they can make it and still fit in that full-size AC port on the side. Now we'll take a closer look at the display, and I'll walk you through a few of the menu choices. To turn the unit on, you'll hold the power button for 2 seconds. The display will come on, the unit will go through a brief power on self-test, and then it'll come up with a display with the current state of the unit. There's a lot of information that's being shown there. It's all explained in the manual, but I'll give you a few of the high points. In the upper right-hand corner, it shows you the current charge level, which is 69%. You'll see the USB indicator, and the port indicator for that universal port on the right is on as well. If you want to turn the AC on, you can tap this top button. When you first turn it on, DC is active. So we've got these ports live, and you've got the DC ports on the side live. But if you want to use the AC port on the left-hand side, tap the top of that button. It'll take a second. It activates the circuit. That'll provide the 120 volts, 60 hertz over here. And you'll see the AC indicator in the center came on. If you'd like to turn that off, you don't need to leave it on if you're not using it. Tap the button again, it'll turn that off. Now, a few other indicators on there. You'll see temperature down there, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the current temperature internally. And it's letting you know right now it's delivering 0.65 watts of current to something inside there. That's probably internal circuits that are drawing that current. Let me walk through the menu items. To get to the menu, you're going to double tap the power button. So tap it twice quickly. It'll bring up the menu. The first item on that menu is DC output, and that has to do with the universal port on the right-hand side. And you can walk through the different choices with this. Let's start with DC output. Let me tap it again. Then you have a choice for different voltages that 5521 universal port can output. Right now it's set up at 12 volts, but I can also select 16.5, 15, or 20. And the reason those choices are there is because you may get a specialized cable to connect this to a laptop and then directly charge the laptop off this. Normally you're going to leave it at 12 volts, and you'll accept that by tapping this button. It'll confirm that you want the output port set to 12 volts. At 5 amps, you'll click it again. And now if you notice that top line has changed, you can see it indicates 12 volts as an output voltage for that particular 5521 port. Let's go back in the menu again. I can control the wall socket, and there are a few choices there for the 120 volt side. Normally you're going to set it up for 120 volts AC, but you do have the choice on some devices to go to HVDC, which is a high current DC charging. That's used on a few different products, and if your product is compatible with that, you can select that, but normally you're going to leave that on 120 volts AC and say, yes, that's great. You can go down to USB next. You have a couple of choices there. The default is that it's either off or on. I leave it on. That way when I power up the unit, the DC portion comes on. If you don't want that to happen, you can turn that off, and that'll save a little bit of power. Let me get out of that. Let me stay on. Okay, next down is screen off. You get a choice there of never having the screen turn off or time out after a minute or 5 minutes. I find that 1 minute is too short, and 5 minutes is just about right, so I leave it on 5 minutes. I'll accept that. Let's go down to the next one. Auto shutdown. You tap that, you can shut this thing off after a minute or 5 minutes or never. I typically leave that on 5 minutes, and that means if I'm not drawing any current from any of the ports, it'll automatically shut off. If you leave it on never, it's still going to trickle a little bit of current through the circuitry inside, so over a couple of days it may actually drain the battery. So I don't leave it on never, I leave it on 5 minutes. So let's go down to 5 minutes and accept that. Okay, the next choice down is the temperature indicator, and you have a choice between centigrade or Fahrenheit. I'm in the US, I like Fahrenheit, so I'll stick with that. One more down, button lights. I can leave those on or off. I like them on because if it's a little dark outside, I can see what I'm doing, but you could certainly set the default for those to be off as well. Then the next item down is time remaining, and that'll tell you how much time is left for charging. It's a value for reference only, it's an approximation, but I like to see that. Or you can hide it if you want, if you think the display is too busy. Right now it's set up for hide, so I'll leave it as hide. And then next one down is the language. You can choose a bunch of different languages. I'm English, so I'm going to choose English. And then the last one is a factory reset. If you want to reset all the counters inside without going through the deep discharge procedure, you can hit that button. That'll reset all the counters. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend doing the battery conditioning routine that I've talked about because that actually resets those batteries in a more efficient way. So let's go down to the next option. And last is about. It'll give you some information about the product, the model, the capacity, the version, and the serial number. That may be important if you're having trouble with it and the service people ask you those questions. You can give them that information. So let's back out of that. And then finally, the last last one is exit. So when you're done making your selections, hit that. It'll take you back to the main menu. And to turn the unit off, you'll hold the power button for a couple of seconds. It'll blink out and you're all set to go. I hope you found that closer look helpful. Now I'll show you a few different ways you can charge the unit and how I use the Omni 20 Plus to recharge a lot of the technology I take with me out in the field on a regular basis. Now, the first thing you'll want to do when the unit arrives is condition the batteries. And it's explained in the manual, but it's a really simple process. You'll essentially connect it up to a few of the devices that you want to recharge and drain the batteries down to the point where the front display actually blinks out. Now, I know that's going to seem scary because you won't even be able to turn the unit on, and it isn't dead at that point. It's hibernating, which means there's enough current in those batteries that the minute you connect it to a charger, it's going to spring back to life and you can fully charge it. But it's important you do that because there's a controller inside this unit that's keeping track of everything that happens on with the unit. It's going to actually keep track of the charges, if you've had short circuits, if there have been any error conditions that came up. So it's building a scorecard based on your experience with the product over time. And if you don't reset it every so often by deep discharging those batteries and then fully charging them, it really doesn't have a good handle on how those batteries are doing. So when you deep discharge it and recharge it, you're resetting all those counters, and you're also letting the controller know how much capacity the batteries have currently, because the chemistry of the batteries can change over time, and by fully charging those batteries, the controller can keep track of how that charge is being taken and really improve the efficiency of the unit overall. So make sure you do that probably a couple times a year and you'll be in good shape. All right, to charge the unit, the simplest way to do it is to use a standard wall charger like this. Now this is a heavy-duty 65 watter, and it's got both a QC connection through the USB-A and a PD connection through the USB-C. You want to make sure you use a heavy-duty charger, and it'll charge it a lot quicker. So with this kind of charger, 65 watter, that's a PD charger, I can recharge this in about 3 hours. Now you can use a smaller charger, but you're dealing with a math problem here where the smaller charger can't generate enough electrons or as many electrons. It takes a lot longer to fill this guy up. Think of this as a big glass here that you're filling up with water. If you've got a small charger, you're dribbling the water in, whereas a charger like this, it's like a fire hose. So the bigger charger is always better. And again, you can charge it with anything, but get a big charger. Now, if you have a laptop that has a USB-C charger on it, you can use that as well. Most laptop chargers are 65 watts or even higher. This will handle a full 60 watt charge. The other cool thing is that this port on the side that we're going to connect the charger up to is a PD charge port, which means the unit can fast charge external devices that are PD compatible, which is great, but it's also PD compatible on the way in, which means unlike a lot of these products that have a standard charge cycle, which could take 5 or 6 hours to charge, this one can fast charge external devices, and it can also be fast charged through that same port. So by using a charger like this, you're going to fire a ton of electrons at it, and you're going to fill that glass up really quickly. So you'll plug the charger in any wall outlet, and you can use the cables that came with the unit to connect them together. I've got a little longer one here just to make it easier, but I've got a USB-C to USB-C. I'll plug that into the charger, plug that into the side USB-C connection here. It takes a second for it to recognize that I'm charging it. It comes to life, and you can see the display light up. It lets you know what the current charge level is, and you can watch that fully charge. It'll actually move up and fully charge the battery. When it's done, it'll shut off. Now that's the easiest way to do it. You may be thinking already, Rick, what if I'm in my car? I mean, I'm not going to always charge it at home. I want to charge it in the car when I'm on the go. Well, you can certainly use a car charger, plug this into standard USB-A or USB-C in a car charger, and you're good to go there. The thing is, the car charger may only be a 15 watt, 25 watt, 40 watts. So again, the bigger the charge you can get for the car, the better. And that'll charge this. It may take a little longer than the home charger, but again, it's a math problem depending on how large the charger is and how many electrons it can fire at this unit to fully charge it. There is a faster way to do it though. I mentioned before that it's also got this 5521 universal port on the side. That's a bidirectional port, which means I can use it to charge devices externally, but I can also use it to charge the product. Now, you've got to get a cable. They don't come with the cable, but you can find them everywhere. Because it's a standard 5521 port, you can find a cable like this that's got the 5521 connector on this end and a standard car charger connector on this end. So plug it in here. I've got this power supply set up to simulate my car, but I'll plug this in just like your outlet in the car. The minute I do that, boom, it comes to life and I'm charging it. The cool thing is, that's a high performance connection, so it'll charge it a lot faster. It can handle, I think it's going to handle up to 60 watts of input current to charge this thing quickly. So I'm charging it from my car, I'm simulating that, but I'm charging it from my car and charging it that way. You can also use that for an output, and I'll show you that in a little bit. All right, so that's charging it. Once you've got it charged, that's where the magic starts. So you're out in the field, you've got to charge a lot of different things. Now, normally I'm taking a tablet and my phone with me and a bunch of drone stuff, maybe my laptop. If I want to charge anything, I'll turn the unit on by holding this for a couple of seconds. It'll come on, you'll see the display set up, and we're all ready to go. Now, charging my phone is really easy. This is a wireless charge capabilities. I just lay it on top of the unit. The minute I do, boom, it comes on and I'm charging my phone. And that's really handy if I'm out there flying a drone or I'm fishing or something. I can set it down, put my phone on top of it, not have to worry about having a cable with me. But what else do I want to charge with it? Well, I've got a tablet out here. So I've got a USB-A to USB-C cable right here. I can plug that into one of these ports on the front. Now, there were two full-size USB-A ports on the front. Both of these are QC 3.0, which is a quick charge capability, which means I can fast charge external devices from both of those ports. Now, here's an important difference. Most of these products will have a QC port and a regular port on the front, which means one will fast charge and the other one is a standard like 5 volts, 2.5 amps. So you've got a slow charge port. Both of these are QC compatible, and there are a controller inside can differentiate between the two of them. So I can connect two different devices up that need different charge levels, and it'll make the adjustments for them. So I'll connect up a USB-A port to that one, or cable to that one, and I'll charge my tablet. So the tablet's being charged. At the same time, I can still charge my phone on the top of it. So that's two devices at the same time. Well, I've got a bunch of other stuff with me. I've got an action camera. I want to charge that. So I've got another USB cable here. This is a USB-A cable. I'll plug that into the top. Put my phone back on there, so that's charging. That controller, I should say that tablet is charging. Now my camera's charging. So I've got three devices charging at the same time. Well, I've got a bunch of other stuff. I got to charge more stuff. So I've got a laptop over here. Let me try and charge that. So I'll use a USB-C cable here to the side of the unit, and I'll connect that up to my laptop. Now, again, this is different than most of these units because that PD port over there is not just PD, but it's a PD 60 watts. So it's got an incredible amount of power, which you need to charge a laptop. If you've got a smaller PD port that only puts out a little bit of current, it's never going to charge your laptop. By connecting that up, my laptop is charging. Now, again, I'm charging a tablet, a camera, my phone, and the laptop at the same time. And you're thinking, well, that's enough already, Rick. Stop where you're at. Hold on, I've got more. So if I hit the button on the top, that turns on the AC portion of this. Let's say I brought a lamp out. I don't know why I'd bring a lamp out in the field, but let's say I brought a lamp along with me in the field. Well, gee, I can plug that into the AC port on the other side, and what happens there? Holy smokes, the lamp came on. Okay, so the lamp's on. All of these guys are charging at the same time. Now, it gets a little more interesting beyond that. So if I'm out in the field and I've got a smart controller, or I've got batteries for my drone I want to charge. Let me disconnect the lamp for a second. Actually, let me disconnect all this and start from scratch here. So I've got a lot of cables on the table. It's getting very confusing for me. All right, so that's the laptop. So let me disconnect that. All right, both of these are quick charge compatible devices. So the battery bank, let me connect that up. I'll connect that up to one port, and this is how I'm going to show you that it'll quick charge two devices at the same time. So this is going to start strobing, and it's strobing fast. And if you fly this kind of drone, you know for a fact that when it's strobing like that, it's quick charging those batteries. So I can charge three batteries at the same time for my drone. It'll charge one, it'll move on to the next one, move on to the next one. Well, my smart controller needs to be charged as well. So let me plug that in. Now, normally, if I connect two cables up to the same battery bank or portable power station, only one of those is going to quick charge. But if you look closely, you'll see this is still strobing fast and this is strobing fast, which is showing you both of these are quick charging at the same time at different levels, because I guarantee you the current and voltage this needed was different than the current and voltage that needed, but the controller's smart enough to differentiate between the two. It'll handshake with both devices and deliver the right amount of current and voltage for this one and different one for that one to safely and quickly charge those. So that's pretty brilliant. Oh, and the same time, what did I do with it? Here it is. Same time I can charge my phone. So I've got two devices being charged at the same time. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what else can I do? Gee, that would be great if I could charge something off that port on the side. Well, I've mentioned before that this universal port is bidirectional. And what I mean by that is I can charge the unit through it using a standard cable like I showed you a second ago, but I can also use another type of connector, this one, which is an output connector that has a 5521 connector here and a standard car connector here. Now, the only thing you have to be aware of is that this is normally an input, and if you want to use it as an output, you have to go into the menu. So you'll double tap this button, which brings up the menu. The first menu item is the output voltage. Click that, select the voltage you want. I'll take 12 volts, thank you. And you want to make sure it's an output. Yes, it's an output. Now that port's active. So when I plug this in, I can actually use, I don't know, a car charger. Let's say I've got those mini batteries with me and I don't have the hub with me. I can plug a car charger into it. Boom, it comes on. I can take one of these batteries and I can connect it up to the car charger, and I can actually charge the battery in my car. So that's pretty cool, right? Now that battery's charging, everything's good. Now it's red because the battery's charging. Once the battery's fully charged, it'll turn green and we're good to go. That's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is if you've got the main charger with you. So the regular charger, by the way, you can use this for any 12 volt accessory you've got. So anything that plugs into your cigarette lighter can plug into this as long as you pick up this cable. And again, these are really inexpensive cables. All right, so let's say, for example, you've got your Mavic Air battery with you. Well, geez, there's no way I can charge that with DC. What am I going to do there? Well, maybe I'm bringing my Mavic Air charger with me in the field, which I do on a regular basis. So let me plug that guy in. Well, this can't possibly work. There's no way this is going to work, Rick. Well, yeah, it will work. Watch this. So I'll plug that in the side, plug in the battery. It's going to take it a second for it to recognize. Do I have the AC on? Yeah, I have the AC on. It's going to take it a second to recognize that. But the minute it sees the charger, and again, it's a modified sine wave, but that's fine for this kind of charger. The minute it sees that charger, it's going to start charging the battery. So at the same time, this is blowing my mind. At the same time, I can have my controller fast charging. I can have those batteries in the hub fast charging. I'm going to blow this thing up if I keep connecting stuff. I can have that fast charging. I'm out of stuff to charge at this point. Oh, here's another battery. Let me throw that in there. So all of this stuff together is charging at the same time, which again is unbelievable, but it's a small unit. So it's got 20,000 milliampere hours. Remember, you're filling it up with electrons. Once it's full, it's like a wound spring, man. It wants to distribute those electrons through any port it's got available to it, so it can charge multiple devices at the same time. The reason I'm saying you have to keep an eye on it is because there's only so many electrons in there based on that 20,000 milliampere hours. So of course I'm going to use those pretty quickly charging all this stuff, but normally it's one or two things at a time. And I just love the fact that I can take one unit with me out in the field. It's got such versatility that I've got a ton of connections. The USB-A's on the front, USB-C on the side, the multi-port on the side, the AC on the other side, the wireless charging on the top. I mean, it does everything I could possibly want it to do outside of an arc welder or a giant cement mixer, something that's got a huge load. Of course, you can't run that on it, but everything short of that, this guy just does the job. And the best part, I think, overall is that it's that perfect balance, that Goldilocks zone between weight and capacity and use in the field. Whereas a lot of them are bigger. This is great. I love this product. It's way heavier. And I guarantee you, when I take that out for a day of flying or a day of filming, I'm coming back with it 80% full. Why am I carrying all that weight with me when I can get by with something smaller like this? So I like this an awful lot. It's the Omni 20 Plus. I think the company's done a brilliant job in designing this product. And that's pretty much all I had for today. So I hope you've enjoyed this clip. If you're interested in the product, I've got links below where you can go check it out on Amazon. I've got a lot more content that I'm going to be reviewing like this on the channel, so hopefully you guys are enjoying these clips. Anyway, that's it for today, and until next time, stay nerdy!